All righty, Mark, let's get the show on the road. It is 8:30. Good morning, everyone. I'm Holly Dowden, VP of Marketing at Ntiva, and I'm going to turn it over to Mark Wasser, the voice guy, as we call him, and he's going to take it away and educate you folks on business voice.
Awesome. Thanks, Holly. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for taking time out of your day to join this short presentation on how to power up Microsoft Teams with business voice. As Holly said, I'm Mark Wasser. I'm the Director of Unified Communications, otherwise known as the phone guy here at Ntiva, but I do have a team of phone guys that work together with me to help our business voice deployments or Ntiva voice deployments, whichever fits our customer base best. So obviously you're familiar with Ntiva, but I wanted to share a slide to just show through some of our strategic acquisitions what Ntiva has to offer. Obviously the managed IT services and my division business communications, but one of the cool ones that I've come to enjoy through some of the webinars is a company we acquired in Chicago that's strictly Apple. So take a look at this slide. If some of these things resonate with you or you'd like to learn more information about them, maybe your business has changed and some of these might be good to know about, reach out to your account manager and ask to arrange a meeting with the person in charge of that particular division. As you know, McLean, Virginia is our headquarters, but just take a look at what we've done over these last couple of years as a company. We continue to expand our footprint with that through acquisitions. Obviously, we continue to grow, help our companies or our customers that are geographically dispersed, but also help manage different nuances of business through these acquisitions. So very, very happy about that. It's great for all of us, and I think it's good for our customer base as well. So enough about that. Let's talk about business voice and Teams. So I'll start with Teams as Microsoft's all-in-one go-to communication platform. Candidly, we started rolling out Teams a few years ago when it really hit the marketplace, but I didn't use it actually because I was in the office. I would just look over and ask somebody, you know, about a meeting, let's have a chat. Hey, can you send me this file? But when our building shut down for the pandemic, it became a different world for us. And we were constantly sharing emails. We were having phone calls over cell phones. And it got to the point where people were starting like, hey, dude, let's hit me up in Teams, because Teams is an all-in-one communication platform. So you have the ability to call other users within the office via Teams or chat with them, or more importantly, do a video and video a group of people on your team. You have the ability to create teams or groups of people and then share files from within that. So this platform became, you know, for us, we'd be lost without it. But what was interesting is that, you know, while it worked for us internally, because that's what it was designed to do, was work as an internal platform, it became increasingly challenging for us to communicate with our customers or our customers to communicate with us because our phone system was at the office. So how do we work around that? Well, you can call forward your phone to your cell phone, but when my cell phone rings, I don't know if it's a customer or if it's somebody calling my cell phone. And making calls to customers, I was making it from my cell phone so they wouldn't know it's Mark from Ntiva. So what's the answer to that? That is Teams business voice. Sorry about that. And what that does is it allows a business voice platform or phone system to happen within Teams. And that does a lot of things. First of all, it unlocks the dialer within Teams so you can make calls from within this application and it's coming from your office. When you receive a call, it comes to your Teams platform. So your device now is your phone. And now I truly have an all-in-one platform to function internally with my teammates as well as externally with my customers. So this dial feature gives me the ability to create speed dials from within Teams, so I can now call my customers externally. I can have my contacts imported out of Outlook so that I can see everybody. I have a call history and I've got my voicemail, and that voicemail includes transcription. So now when we introduced Business Voice into the Ntiva Teams platform, we were a remote workforce working as if we were all in the office, which was a great thing. And certainly as our business has grown nationwide, we communicate internally real time with employees, as well as real time through the device to external callers. How's that done? It's done through any device, which is great, right? So I have my laptop, I've got my Teams application. I've loaded Teams onto my cell phone. So I have my Teams application with the same feature set. I can make and receive calls. I can chat with internal employees. I can look at my Teams files. And I'm old school phone guy, so I still like to have a physical phone on my desk at the office that I can log into, so I can use a handset and have the feeling of the phone with a speakerphone rather than using earbuds. So it is call from anywhere on any device and have that all-in-one communication. Now, let me just say one thing about the Teams physical phones. Today with Microsoft, you do require a Microsoft certified Teams telephone. So there's a few manufacturers that make those. Yealink is a very good one, Poly or Polycom, and then a company called Audio Codes that make Teams specific phones. So important to note that most people that we're deploying these for today elect to go with the application and then deploy phones for particular users that want a phone, or just particular conference rooms where you want a phone, or a Teams certified conference unit. So just make note of that. How does it work? So Teams Business Voice is built within the Microsoft Office 365 stack, just like email, just like security, everything else. It is a license within Office 365. You're buying a Business Voice license per user that wants to be part of the Business Voice phone system. Okay, so it's $20. What that includes is the phone system license within Office 365. That's the part that unlocks the dialer within Teams. It also includes Microsoft's domestic calling plan. That is a 3,000 minute per month calling plan, which includes calls in the United States. And that calling plan is pooled. So if you have 10 users on Teams, you really have 30,000 minutes within the calling plan for the office as a whole. What you do is you purchase what we call communication credits to have an overflow should you go over that, or if you need to make international calling and not wanting to add an additional international calling plan per user. So you can kind of mix and match some of these things. What's also cool is that you get the audio conferencing function within the calling plan. So that's that feature where you get a phone number to create an audio conference for people to dial into, and that conference feature supports up to 250 conferees. That's per user. So today, some of you might be using Teams, and you might have elected to buy the $4 a month conference plan only because you're using an external phone system. When you buy Business Voice, that audio conference plan becomes part of it, so you get rid of that additional $4 that you're paying. So the Business Voice is actually a full phone system with inside of Office 365. Microsoft becomes the phone company, so we port the phone numbers, but you're going to then be able to replace your existing phone system with Business Voice. And what do you get with that? You get a lot. So Microsoft continues to add on to this product, but you'll see in the calling section here the features that are included with this. And really, you know, when I was selling on-premise phone systems, and I'll date myself back into the 80s, manufacturers would boast that they had 500 to 700 features. But at the end of the day, people use 5 to 10 features in a phone system, and Microsoft pulled those core features. So you have your call control, you have call forwarding, you have the transfer, the things that we really kind of need that we're using in a remote workforce anyway. I want to make and receive a call. I want to call forward. I want voicemail. I want caller ID. Those things are all part of Teams or business voice, excuse me. There are some things that aren't included, and I'll just touch on those because that does then qualify you. Are you a full business voice candidate? Or maybe there's a hybrid that we can work you into. From the admin side, there's obviously a portal, there's multi-level auto attendance, there's one key dialing, there's call queues, music on hold. We do port your numbers, so there's no concern about losing your phone numbers, right? So you have phone numbers on a certain carrier, you've got your main number, people have their direct dial phone numbers. We have a team that will work with you to port the phone numbers to Microsoft, but you're still only going to get a $20 charge. And it's interesting, right? So Business Voice is a Microsoft product. Microsoft will own the phone numbers. It's in Microsoft's cloud. We manage it, we build it, and then we bill $20 for that Business Voice license. You don't get billed by Microsoft. It's part of what Ntiva bills you for your email, for support. It's just an additional charge from Ntiva of $20, and everything is included with that. So support is an add-on. We have a small support fee because it is a very sophisticated phone system, and that's based on the number of user profiles, but that gets you to my dedicated team to manage the phone system within inside Teams. But there are no additional charges from Microsoft, and you need to understand that. Microsoft becomes the phone company. We interact with Microsoft on your behalf should there be any issues. If you want to buy new phone numbers, say you open a business in Colorado and you want that user to have a Colorado phone number, even though your business is based in DC or Virginia, we can get phone numbers from around the country and give it to that employee so they look like they're making and receiving calls from that location. So very cool about that. So again, it is a full-featured phone system, but it does have some limitations. Briefly on that. So customers that we have with on-premise phone systems, old school buttons on phones, you might want a park key, physical button on the phone that's labeled Park 1, Park 2, Park 3. The receptionist gets a call and parks it on Park 1, lets people know, hey, you've got a call on Park 1, you go to any phone in the business and press the button. You can't do that in Teams. You can't make physical park keys. There is called Park, but it is through a Park orbit number that you need to remember. I apologize about the puppy in the background. She wants to play and it's not playtime right now. Boss secretary appearances is another little challenge. So you have a law firm with a secretary that he or she manages 5 attorneys. Having buttons on those phones can be done. It's a little challenging, but it might be easier on a system that supports that. So what we do when we are discovering a candidate is find out how are you using your system today, what's important. Maybe Teams is a perfect candidate and you're willing to give up some of those features. If not, we do have, and I'm sure through your account manager, you've learned that we have Ntiva Voice, which is our own hosted platform. We can do all of those things within that platform, and we can also integrate into Teams. So the cool thing about that is if Teams isn't perfect for you, you can use Ntiva Voice. And for certain users that only want to use the Teams application, you can still use our phone system, but use Teams and the Teams application for making and receiving calls through that phone system. So we can mix and match accordingly, but we're finding that most of our clients that are working remotely today that are using Teams are comfortable migrating to the Business Voice platform and getting rid of that office phone system, because here's what it amounts to moving to the cloud. Where will you go, Mr. Slide? The office phone system of today had the box on the wall, phones connected to it. You're paying a carrier monthly to get dial tone in and out of that phone system. So there's expenses that you have ongoing. Maybe you haven't even been in the office utilizing that phone system, but you're still paying the carrier, right? So that carrier is Verizon, Level 3, CenturyLink, Comcast, Cox. Any of those carriers that you have that fixed monthly fee that you're paying for, That can go away when you migrate those phone numbers over to Teams or Ntiva Voice. You're going to then use the internet or the internet service provider for those phones to connect back to the carrier. Gone too is that box that we'll have that's in the room that you might be paying a service company to maintain and upgrade and keep current with the latest technology. So that's a choke point for you, and that's one that can go away. What is restored with that is business continuity. So by that, I mean, when phone is in the cloud, you have a phone system that is always up. It's in a data center with multiple data centers. You're not worried if the power goes out to your building, if that carrier that's providing dial tone goes down, or if the phone system itself goes down, right? There's no choke point of the office. The phone system is up. Calls are being routed to your Teams account or your Ntiva Voice account. Calls are going to your voicemail and being emailed to you. So business continuity goes up to almost 100%. We call it 5 nines because it is the internet-based service, so it could have issues. You do keep that in mind. But for the most point, we've all been working remotely. Things seem pretty reliable, and not having that equipment in the office anymore, just like getting rid of your Exchange server and moving to Office 365, this subscription-based service is very compelling for multiple reasons. So what do we do now? What are the next steps in something like this? If this interests you, reach out to your account manager. They'll set up a call with me. I'm happy to hop on a call. Basically, what we're doing is a discovery, a light discovery, to find out what product fits you best. Is this something that you want to move to? And what are any concessions that you might have to give up, let alone the things that you're going to gain, right? Because maybe that office phone system works for you, but does it give you mobility? Does it give you the ability to have phones in remote places? Does it give you the ability to get dial or direct dial numbers from different locations? Those things really help that business process. Big thing is to check to see if you're under any contracts with your providers. That includes a contract that for somebody that might be taking care of your phone system. More importantly, it's a contract that you have with the carrier that provides dial tone. And this includes if you're on a cloud-based system today that you might not be happy with, and you want to move to something where you have my dedicated telephony team to take care of you, which is great. But find out if you're under contract. If you are, find out the term, and then make sure you do not have an auto renew clause. This is something that they bury in your contract, and I've seen it over and over. We're halfway down the idea of moving somebody to Teams or Ntiva Voice, and lo and behold, they find out that they had a 1-year renewal that kicked in 3 months ago and they're stuck. Because in order to cancel that contract, you're gonna pay an early out. So get with that carrier, find out in writing what your term is. If you're month to month, awesome, because that's really easy to move. If you have an auto renew clause, get it in writing that it's canceled. Then request a customer service report or a CSR from that carrier. That's going to show all of your phone numbers that you have on your account. It's very important and something that we need in order to move you to a different platform. We need to show the new carrier or Microsoft or our carrier that these are the phone numbers that you own tied to this account. Make sure that the person that's authorized on that account still works for the company and is available for a signature to sign a letter of authorization. So get that ahead of time. And then a weird one that we run into often is, what are your faxing methods, right? So most of us being out of the office, I'm hearing, well, we haven't been in the office to see a fax, so we don't even care about them. But you might going forward, depending on your business, need to keep faxing. Is that a POTS line, plain old telephone service, like an analog line from a carrier? Not a problem. That can still plug into your fax machine. Maybe it's going through the phone system. And if it is, do we need to port that number and ride it in maybe on an eFax or a device that can convert that signal back to a line that can connect to a fax machine or a multi-line fax printer? So just a couple things, but more importantly, reach out to your account manager and they'll hook me in. We have a conversation. I've got some questionnaires for discovery. I know most of the phone systems that are out there. I've been doing this for a really long time. I won't tell you how long because it'll date me. But it's a fun conversation to have. And then just to give you an idea of what happens should you decide to move to a new platform. With Teams, it's really easy because what we do is we have an account, we have a project manager that will manage the migration. We start that porting process. We order the business voice license, which is put into your Office 365 account. We have an engineer meet with you to discuss call flow, auto attendant, one key dialing. We can program all of that on the back end and even secure temporary phone numbers so that your users all of a sudden see that Teams dialer light up and can make and receive calls from within the application while the old phone system is still working. Depending on that system, we can call forward your phone numbers, your direct dial numbers, to that new temporary number, and they can actually make calls and receive calls from that, through the phone system. And then when the port happens, calls just stop ringing on the old phone system and start ringing into the Teams application, the new auto attendant, and you're done. You've already been trained, you're familiar with it. Same concept with our Ntiva voice. Things happen on the back end, we get things spun up. We have our own hosted voice unified communication platform that's a little different than Teams, but the same thing happens. We do this all on the back end, we manage the port, we train, and then calls stop ringing on the old phone system, you're on the new one, and you get rid of that carrier bill monthly, you get rid of that phone system, you're back to business continuity. So I hope this helps. I'm seeing a couple questions and answers, or questions and chats that I'll certainly address. If you're not comfortable doing that in this setting, I'll throw up this slide that has my phone number and my email. Feel free to reach out to me. Go through your account manager as well so that they can make sure. I love for them to be involved. It helps them learn as well when we hop on these calls. But it's really fun to just kind of dive into it. Maybe you're not ready yet, but let's start dialogue. So a question. So the system can handle a phone tree if that's what you're referring to. So that's an auto attendant that has typically what we call one key dialing. So thank you for calling Ntiva. To reach our service desk, press 1. And that directs it to our call center. To reach sales, press 2, and it goes to a group of phones. To reach accounting, press 3, and it goes to one person. So the answer is yes, if that's what you're referring to a phone tree, absolutely. And it can even go down the list of, if you want to go press 1 to here and go expand it to a little more information with some more one key dialing, it can do that as well, as can our Ntiva voice solution. I think that might have been the only question, which is pretty impressive. Should you have any other ones, again, reach out to your account manager, reach out to me directly, and do some research on your own too. There's some great information on if you start Googling Ntiva voice. And I do have that I'm happy to share through the account manager. I have a slide deck that speaks to what we just went through. I have a Q&A, or frequently asked question document, that speaks to all of the business voice questions that we get often. One thing, again, of note, when I mentioned the telephones, the business, you can Google it. I have a slide that also shows all of the available Teams voice phones that are out there. So I'm happy to share all of it. And then when you have questions on that, we can have a call and go from there. So thank you all for attending.
Mark,
Holly? Yep.
Couple more questions in the chat instead of Q&A. Just check the chat.
So interesting. So a couple things. There is no additional charge for E911. Microsoft we buy the business voice license from our CSP, which is where we get all of our Office 365 licenses. That $20 charge includes the phone system license and the Microsoft Business Voice calling plan with those 3,000 minutes, and the E911 monthly charge and taxes and fees. So there are no additional charges built into that. Fax, Microsoft does not have fax. So today, what we do, and why I mentioned about if it's POTS lines, if it's coming in on an analog line today and you're getting a bill from your carrier, just keep it that way. No reason to reinvent the wheel. If you need it to be eFax, our Ntiva voice product has multiple fax opportunities. So we can do an eFax, and that eFax basically is a fax that's received that's then sent as a PDF to someone's email account, or to a group email for anybody in the company to see. Or if it needs to be secure, we can notify somebody that a fax has been received in a secure portal, and you can log into that for HIPAA compliance, or we can convert a fax to an analog device to connect back in. So Microsoft today, they even say on their products tab, use a third-party fax provider. So we have an answer for that. So that is a great question for the ECAP things. It is not recommended to use Teams from within ECAP because you're logging into a service and the speakers and the microphone often don't work. We've seen workarounds, but in our opinion as a provider, they're not reliable. We recommend that all users load the Teams application natively onto their PC and use that one application from there. That's a Microsoft thing. It just is logging in through a VPN into a remote server and trying to launch then the audio streams backwards becomes a challenge from within Microsoft and also the firewall. So I wouldn't recommend it. We've tried it. Sometimes it's worked. When it doesn't, then it becomes a problem for everybody. All right. Holly, anything else?
No, I think you've answered everything. For the folks on the call, this is recorded and we will send it out afterwards if you want to share it with other team members. But Mark, yeah, I'm in Denver. I was gonna say 8:57, wherever you are, for a couple of minutes from the top of the hour.
So
yeah,
thank you all again.